if we look at our operations planner, you can see I've already loaded this thing up with the tools that we'll need. So we'll face and rough the OD. Let me stretch this out a little bit. Face and rough the OD, and then we'll finish the OD. So we'll thread this little nub here, and then we'll do a ream all the way through. And then we'll ID turn the mouth, and that's this section here. And then we'll finish the mouth in here. So those will be all the tools that we need for cutting this part. Okay, and then we have job info. And that's also, you can go straight to the job information here, but you can also do it from the planner. And then you can see that it's, you know, who it's created by, what it's created for, the part description, and the program ID. So all of this stuff can be output to code. Like if you wanted to create a setup sheet at the top of the program. And then I'm not sure what kind of machines you have, but the typical like FNUC style code needs a four-digit number for a program ID. So at the very top of the program, it'll be the letter O and then a four-digit number. That's between 1,000 and 8,999. I think FNUC reserves everything above 9,000 and everything below 1,000. So here's a four-digit number. Some people base it on a part number. Some base it on an actual program number for the number of programs they've created, whatever it is. But this can be output. You don't need it for code, but you can have it output it for you. And then we'll go to the machine. So for machine, if you use the choose button here, you see that we ship it with a couple of examples. So if you click the example 2-axis turning center and hit accept, it'll fill in this stuff for you, including the SMF, which is a SmartCAM machine file, and the CGT, which is the code generator template file. Now the machine file, it describes your machine, which way the axes point, the rapid, you know, how fast the rapids can go, limits, and that sort of thing. And then the template file, the code generator template file, formats the code into something that the control understands. Things like how many digits pass the point, you know, so you get, are you within a tenth or within a thousandth? It also formats things like what the rapids are, like G0, the linear is G1, G2, G3, and comp on, comp off, those codes 40, 41, and 42. Material is, you know, you can tell it a material if you want, but. And then on the work setup, notice we have a stock layer. And if we had a fixture, let's say we had a check in there, we could, on some layer, we could tell it which layer that is. So the void layer, part layer. Now we have this is new to 2024, the specify home position. So let's make sure that that's turned on. And the Z will be a 1/2 inch out in front of it and 3 inches up away from it in the diameter. Accept this, and then we'll accept the planner. So right now we're going to create a slice. We're going to slice our part so that way we have a profile that we'll be able to cut. And that has to be on a layer. It's not actual toolpath, but it'll be input to the tools that create the toolpath. And you'll see what I mean there here in just a little bit. So CAD, layer, and let's pick our slice profiles. And then we can go to create from solid, slice. Okay, so it's asking for a surface on the solid. We'll pick one of this, any surface on our solid. And then we can look at all the other things here. So we're going to do parallel to our ZX plane. And a tolerance within 1,000th, I think, is good. And our Z level, now when they say Z level, they mean the red arrow here. So we want our level to be at 0. So if we hit go, you'll see that it creates this slice through the part on our Z level. and it goes all the way through the part, and it gives us 2 profiles. We only need 1 of them. So let's do this. Because we're in production turning, we can't do a solids turning on this. Otherwise, we'd be able to work directly from the solid. But all SmartCAM products, you can slice it and get the profile that you need to work with. So let's right-click our part now. Since we won't be using the solid, we can right-click our part in the G view, and then we can hide layer step. So we're going to hide our layer, and then that hides our part. Okay, so from our view toolbar, there's this the standard views. So if we click it and then get a front view, or you can press F10, and you should have that view. Now, we only need the top profile for cutting. The thing is spinning. So why don't we go ahead and let's delete this bottom profile. And how we can do that is on our group toolbar, we have our group arrow, and we have a bunch of other things that we can use. But there's one that's called Add Elements in a Profile. So I call it the profile picker. See, and it's turned on just like a group arrow would be. Then we can pick any element in this bottom profile, and it puts the entire thing in the active group. So I've got 23 of 90 elements in the active group, looking at the bottom right. Okay, now if you hit your delete key, that bottom profile goes away. And then right next to the standard view button is the full button, the view full. So let's click it, and it'll give us a full view of our part. So let's go ahead and start making some toolpath. Let's start with our CAM step 10, and that's our rough turning step. And then let's go to wireframe turning, contour. Okay, so there's several different ways to define our stock. Our stock is masked, so we can't use it. We could pick a point. We could pick some point up here somewhere. We could go by number of passes, but let's just stick with part profile. What part profile does is it looks at the extents of our part. It decides that, okay, this is the stock that needs to be cut. Okay, so now it's asking for a part profile element, start element and end element. So the start element, let's pick this. We're roughing right now, so let's pick this horizontal line on the bottom right. And then notice it's pointed in the wrong direction. Normally you would start from the right and cut left, but that's okay because this is the tool itself knows what to do, the contour tool. And then the end will be the horizontal one on the top. Well, now let's just hit go and see what it looks like. So I'll hit go, and then we're going to look at that and we're going to go, what? No, I would never do that. So what we want, so let's go ahead and use our undo button, and then let's switch from contour to linear. So what we want is linear, and notice that it remembers the numbers even from the contour. But this time, let's give it a Z finish allowance of 0.01 and an X of 0.005. Because X is, we're doing that in the that's the diameter. So 5 here will give us 10 total. And then we'll hit go. And I'm going to zoom out a little bit so I can kind of see, zoom and pan a little bit. That looks like it's taken too big of cuts. You know, I think it needs to be smaller cuts. So I'm going to undo that. And then I'm going to change my pass depth to 0.1. Okay, so let's do a verify toolpath up on your top toolbar. And you can use your number pad to select your speed. So I'm going to pop that down to 2 for now. And while it's running, while it's verifying, you can use your number pad, or you can click the plus or minus button. But I'm going to go ahead and push play. And I'm going to slow that down. See, while it's playing, that looks like what I want. So then it comes up and it goes out from front of the part. So that's good. I think that'll work. Over on the left, now there's a thing called toggle stock. And then let's use our dynamic viewing, and you can see that there's a hole through the middle of it. That's the void stock thing there. So let's go ahead and push play on this. I got a speed 2, and we can see it. cutting our part. And then notice also when it did that, the last thing that it does is come up to this point up here. And that was that the work set up the 0.5 by 3. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and get a front view again. Okay, so we've got 10 thousandths all around our profile. And then notice, even though we picked element 48 for our end, it didn't make it up here. And the reason that is because we have this X finish allowance. It's saying that it has to go beyond this and got that 5 thousandths. So it thinks it can't go up above that. But let's switch our steps and go to step finish turn. So with step 20, and then let's switch from linear to profile. Let's still remember just the numbers, including the horizontal one here. And since we're doing a finish, we're going to leave this at 0 by 0. And then let's hit go. Now you can see that it actually does cut that top part because there is no X finish. It's able to run that tool up there, wrap it over here, and then the last thing it'll do is this over here. So let's verify that. Toggle our stock. There we go. Our next item on the agenda is to thread this thing. But one thing that, if I wanted to zoom in on this, I've got all this other stuff in the way. So we can hide that. There's a difference between hide and mask. Our stock and void layer are masked. That means they won't be used. You can't touch them. You can't do an element data. You can't nothing with them, except for use them for verify. So my suggestion is don't ever use mask, except in things like this. But so what we want to do is to hide our toolpath. And we can get, we do that so that it's visually, it's out of the way. Right now it's kind of cluttering up the view. We can right click it. Well, we'll look at our two processes. Right now we have a linear rough process and then the profile turn process, and that's the profile that we did here. Let's go ahead and hide those two. We can do that here in the what we call the L view or the list view. Right click and then show hide. That'll hide it, not mask it. It'll just hide it. That means it'll still, in verify, it'll show us the cutting code. We'll output the code. And you can do that in the G view too. So if I get my mouse on my turn toolpath, I can right click and I can hide it. So it's all still there. But right now what we're going to do is go to step, and we're going to pick our threading tool, step 30. The balloon tells you what the tool is and all that. So step 30. And let's zoom in on our thread nub here. And then we're going to go to create geometry thread. So for the crest start, I'm going to click on the crest start field and I'm going to snap to the middle of the outer line. This is the next. We need a diameter, so we need to go to the end of this and go ×2. So I can type in the characters ×2, and when I press enter, you'll see that it multiplies that by 2. And then for root start, I'm going to click on the words root start. This is called coordinate mode. There's also ordinate mode where you can click in the field and just get one of the two ordinates. I want coordinate mode, so I'm going to click root start, and then I'm going to snap to the bottom of this radius here. It's either the end of the line or the beginning of the radius or whatever it is. I'm going to snap to that, and then it advances to root end. So root end will be the same radius on the other side. So it's got that information. Now it's got enough information where we can use the lookup button. And the lookup button is a table that we've supplied. Under more, you can see where the table is. But anyway, so let's click lookup. And then it fills in the rest of the stuff for us. Then if we hit go, we should get this thread. Okay, so let's go ahead and verify our toolpath with our stock. And then here we go to threading. Oh, we got a little red here. That means it's nicking the part. We even get a little rapid collision here. So I'm going to reset and close. So what that means is that we're starting, we need to increase our in feed and out feed. So let's go ahead and close this, undo, and then let's click more. So we want our end extension over on this side. We don't want it to be too much. If we give it too much, the tool might bang into the shoulder here. So let's say 0.025 for the end extension. Well, let's just add 25 to this. So it'll be what? Let's say 0.18 for the start extension. And we'll accept that and then hit go and verify that. So I didn't need quite that much on this side, but I get all the red is gone now. And I was watching where the tool might bang into this, and it wasn't banging into this, to the edge here. So now we're going to switch to the ID. Remember the home point, 1/2 inch and 3 inch, is always up here somewhere. Okay, so our thread tool finishes up here. And the next thing we're going to do, we're going to drill the hole through here with a ream. And right now our tool is stationed up here. So when we go to our drill, that's going to be fine because it's going to go from here down to here and it's not going to bang into the part anywhere. So we can go ahead and drill this. So with step 40, let's go ahead and create geometry, hole. And I forget how deep this thing is, so I'm going to right click this back element and I'm going to select element data. Z is -2 inches, roughly. We want our hole to be like 2.3. Okay. If we look at our step 40, so I'm going to go to step 40 and just double click that. You'll see that it's a reamer. It's using a reamer to drill the hole. So we'll go with the tip depth of 2.3. And then the whole point is Z0. And that means right at 0. So you would think, well, wouldn't it bang into the part? Well, except for this clear. And then we've popped a hole through the thing. So what happens is the tool is up here, and then it rapids down to 0.1 because of our clear of 0.1, and then it starts feeding from there to 0, and then that's when it starts. And then from there it feeds to 2.3, and then it pulls out to the clear point. And then what it does after that is it goes up to our tool change point. So when we go ahead and verify that, and actually I'm going to kind of cock the view so we can see the drilled part. Okay, so the last thing that tool did is it went from this 0.1 and it went up to that 1/2 inch by 3 inch. Well, the next tool that we're going to use is the ID rough turning for roughing this mouth out. So that means the tool is up here, because the tool is up here, then it's going to wrap it down in front of the mouth and then start roughing out that mouth. Yeah, we're okay. What I'm worried about is like if it had to go in, let's say it had to go in all the way to here, it would wrap it from there down through the part, crash through the part. But I think we'll be okay because the tool's up here and it's going to start cutting the mouth, so it'll wrap it down to here, still out in front of the part. and then it'll start roughing. But we're cutting pixels, so if we cross through our part, we'll be able to see it without damaging the machine or a tool. With step, and let's do our rough turn. Now this is an ID tool. Let's do the same thing with wireframe turning and linear. We already know contour is probably not what we want, so we'll do the linear. And remember, look at that, it still remembers the original numbers, so we got to pick some new numbers. Anyway, so profile start here will be this chamfer, and then the vertical line here. Let's get a front view of this, and then zoom in on this little area here. And then we hit go. Okay, so it's doing these roughing passes, and then it's backing off. It's kind of scary how far it's backing off, wrapping up. So this is a boring bar, and that back off might bang the back of the tool into the other side of the part. So let's undo that. And then if we go to more, you can see we have a clear and an in-feed distance. So let's change the clear to, and it doesn't have to be much. Let's say 0.02, and also the in-feed distance of 0.02. And we can accept that and hit go. And then we can see this back off is much smaller now. I feel a little more comfortable with that. So while we're zoomed in here, let's go ahead and verify and toggle our stock. And then notice while we're in this position, we can't see anything going on, right? There's this section button on the view bar. So let's click the section button. And then what it did was it zoomed, it sectioned off the part. So the part's still there, just now we can see inside of it. And then we can hit play. So when it's finishing here, and then it's rapiding up to the tool change point. So right after this, we need to create a rapid point. So all we got to do now is just go to create geometry. We're still with step 50. So step 50 finishes here. And now we want to create a rapid point, and we'll just put it out to here. So we can go create geometry, point rapid. If you, in coordinate, notice there's an asterisk that pops up. That means the next place we click out on the G view, it's going to create that point. Hover over this point, and then you get the snap icon. That means you're within snap distance, so you can click that point, and then it sticks that point in there. So we've got, in the list, we've got our linear rough and then a rapid point. Finished with the linear rough, it's sitting here, and now it's going to rapid to here, and then it'll rapid up to the tool change point. We've got our profile turn. So let's right click, container recall. We want our profile start element to be this chamfer. I meant to do that when we first did it. And like I said, our first start element, part profile start element, needs to be this chamfer. So it should be 62 and 48, everything else. And then if we regen it, it'll put that chamfer in as part of what it's doing. Okay, so with step, finish turn, you know what? I'm going to change the color of my step there. Click it down and edit the step. And I'm going to change the color to something darker. No, that's not dark enough. There we go. Okay, so now we can go to wireframe turning profile. And then let's go, our part profile start will be this chamfer. And the end will be this vertical line. And we already know that this thing is going to back off too much. So let's go ahead and go straight to our more. And let's change, here we've got 3 different ones. So let's change them all to 0.02. Actually, the in feed probably doesn't matter, but that's okay. We'll change it to in feed is where it comes from on the outside. We'll accept that and then hit go. Very little back off. I think that'll do us. So I'm gonna. Okay, yeah. So let's verify this. Toggle stock. I think profile is going to cut us a break. I'm going to turn section on. We need to put a point out in front, just like we did with the roughing. So let's go ahead and do that. We're already with step 60. We're already at the end. We're already after our profile turn. So we can just do a create geometry point for rapid. And then it's already defaulted to the coordinate mode, and we can just snap to this point here. And I'm just going to verify this real quick. I'm getting a little crash on the out OD chamfer there, and I can't figure out why. So it's coming in, doing this last roughing pass, and then it goes up here. Okay, so it's going from there. So after that first, and it's going from here, and it's rapiding down through the corner here to get to here. So what we need to do is, after this point, which is our roughing pass, we need to make a rapid point out to here. So we're going to go insert after element, the linear roughing. And we got our insert marker there, and then we're going to go with step 10, which is the same tool. And then we're going to put a point rapid. The point rapid should still be active, so all I got to do is just click the point, and I'm going to snap a point to here. I could snap it to here even, but our tool change point is up here, so I'm just going to leave it up here. Okay, so let's verify that. And I'm just going to run it really quick. So there's no crash there I can see. Okay, let's save this. So let's do a file, save as. I'm just going to change the name of it a little bit so I have the original. And we'll save it.